She is India's most celebrated classical performer. She's not just a teacher, she's also an institution in herself. She's a name synonymous with India's oldest art form, Bharatanatyam. Padma Shri Geeta Chandran. Chandran began learning Bharatanatyam from the tender age of 5 years under the tutelage of Srimati Swarna Saraswati, a formidable force in the Thanjavur Dasi style. She went on to learn diverse aspects of classical dance form from eminent gurus. Her ability to include contemporary takes in her presentation is what sets her apart. Geeta believes that dance must be linked to life and that artists must use it to make a difference. Her versatility, firm foundation and devotion to the art form have enchanted audiences for 5 decades. She is known not only for her deep and composite understanding of Bharatanatyam but also for her Carnatic music, her work in theatre, dance, education, videos and films. In recognition of her vast and varied contribution to Bharatanatyam, she has been bestowed several awards and honours. She was awarded the prestigious national award, the Padma Shri, by the President of India in 2007. She is also the recipient of the Sangeet Natak Academy Award in 2016 and the Tagore National Fellowship 2018 and 2021. Geeta Chandran is a luminary, a visionary and a widely respected role model to several women. Welcome to IndiaTV. As we celebrate International Women's Day and celebrate the essence of womanhood, we are joined by Padma Shri Awardee Geeta Chandran ji, who has been an inspiration to several women. Welcome, ma'am.
Namaskar.
Ma'am, you started dancing at the age of 5.
Right.
What drew you towards dance?
Well, my mother was my inspiration. Again, celebrating Women's Day. My first teacher was a woman, and my mother was denied the opportunity to learn music or dance. So she was very keen that I learn. Whether I take it up as a profession or not was not the issue, but the idea was to give me a strong foundation in the arts. And she took me to my first guru, Srimati Swarna Saraswati, and she was a strong woman because she had kind of seen the dance travel from the temple to the proscenium, and she had done probably the first one to do a world tour with Bharatanatyam. And she was from the Isaivallar community, which was the Devadasi community. She married a Brahmin and she was ostracized and she was not accepted by her husband's family. Then she came away from Chennai and came to Delhi, and I had the good fortune of being under her for many years. So I think women have been a very strong influence in my life. My grandmother was a very strong woman, and she brought up 6 children with not much of wealth at that time, and taught them the basic values which were very strong to the family and which I feel very connected to. And a woman who's full of rasa, you know, if she had to eat, she would enjoy the food and talk about it and eat. If she had to dress, she would dress very properly. So I think there was enjoyment in what you did, and that I think is very special to me as well. I also like to do things a certain way and enjoy it, because life is short and we need to celebrate it. As women, I think life is very important to celebrate each day. So at 5, I went to my teacher, Srimati Swarna Saraswati, and she guided me, and at the age of 14, I did my Arangetram. And we are a family where there was a lot of art in terms of listening to music, in terms of going to dance recitals, but nobody had formally learnt the art form. So I was probably the first one to do it. You know, today the young child says, "Oh, I'm stressed, I'm depressed." We didn't have time for all that, you know. We had a happy childhood. I was dancing, of course, and it was a very strong part of my life. It was not a kind of an activity which I did outside of my life. Now looking back, it was something I couldn't do without. So it was my core, you know. So that went on through my journey, and then I reached a point where I had to kind of choose whether I wanted to continue full-time as a dancer or multitask, because I was also doing media at that time, media research. So, but I think somewhere I couldn't multitask and I wanted to be in dance. So one morning I went to my guru and I told him, will you just give me 4 hours every day? I needed something to hold on to. And I said, I'm going to put in my papers. So I was fortunate to have my parents support me and my husband support me, which is, I think, a blessing, because this is a very demanding art form. And unless there is support initially for the period when there is this whole struggle that you go through, your initial years are very, very demanding on you, and you don't get the opportunities, but still you have to work very hard, keep at it, stay the course. So that's the gestation period in the arts, and I think getting through that is a huge challenge.
So ma'am, talking about your struggles as you just mentioned, can you just tell us more that were there a societal pressure, or did you ever face anything like that? There is...
For me, I was fortunate because in the South, the arts are always looked at as a wonderful way of serving the Lord, because this initially used to be done in the temples as part of the seva. But in the North, there's a lot of stigma attached to dance. So once I went to a school to perform as part of Spikmeke, and suddenly one of the students says, "Nachne wali aa gayi." And that's one day I said, oh my God, this association I never thought was there. And that stuck to me in my head, that still in the North, there is that feeling of the arts being associated. Though Nachne Wali is not in itself a bad thing, but the association you see in cinema, the way dance is portrayed or Kathak is portrayed, there is a certain association with the kotha or with the, with bad women or negative women playing negative characters. So I think that is there in the North, and I think slowly now it is changing, and it is seen as a very respectable profession and seen as something that is associated with the dharohar of our India and the history that we go through. So I have personally not experienced that kind of stigma, but I have seen that it is certainly there in the minds and the hearts of people.
I'm talking about your journey, ma'am. It's been 50 years of performing. Like, you've been traveling across the world, and you've been I have seen been performing twice a week. How do you manage it? And now when you look back at the journey, it's like 50 years. My goodness.
Yes, I think it's been a great journey, and as I said, women have been very, very important in my life. My mother, my teacher, my mother-in-law, who I call my amma only, because she's my second mother. She was a working woman and who was spiritual but not religious. My mother didn't work. She was a homemaker, extremely religious, and both these women were completely different, and yet how they impacted me was quite amazing. So I have taken from both and kind of assimilated their journey and their lives, and I feel so blessed to have these two women in my life who are remarkable in their own way. And my teachers, I've had Swarna Saraswati, my first teacher, and then subsequently I went to another teacher, Srimati Jamuna Krishnan, who was a very contemporary woman, who was an economics professor and who was a great dancer teacher. So from her, I took the contemporary elements of dance and a way of life that would, kind of put the dance in a contemporary prism and kind of look through the contemporary prism into an old art form. So you need to contextualize it constantly. So I think all that so women have been very important in my life and how they have impacted me. And I have a daughter.
Yes. She's taking the legacy forward. And how is the relationship, ma'am, the teaching, learning relationship?
Yes, so I have been a mother and a guru, so that's been quite a challenge. And I've never given her individual time. She has always been part of a group in the class, and she has found and negotiated her own kind of path. And then what I'm proud about is the fact that she loves dance. You know, at the end of it, whether you take it up full time, whether you do it part time, whether you kind of engage with it in a different way, whether you write about it, whether you take it to your workplace, it's all different. But at the end of it, if you give that joy of dance to a student, I think my mandate is over, and they carry it for the rest of their life. So I think many of my students can never live without dancing.
Ma'am, the role of women in performing arts, how important it is, how do you see it?
I think women, in my profession at least, they call the shots. Men need to make their way. Though our gurus have all been great male teachers, but now it's all performing performers who are teachers. So I think a lot of very successful women who have been engaged in dance, and it's only now that men are slowly finding their way in Bharatanatyam, and they are kind of coming in. But I think women have played a stellar role. When you see the history of, say, Bharatanatyam, you have Rukmani Arundale, and who really recreated and redefined the art form for us, set up an institution and took it forward. So I think we have great women who have been visionaries in the field of the arts.
I've seen in your performances message that you send across, your recent performances and all. How dance is a communication tool?
I have always viewed it as not just a piece of history that we need to teach today and continue forward. It is, I think, a very potent communication tool, as you said, and the elements are still to be explored in a sense, how far it can go, and how, if you push the frontiers of the style, what it can say and how it can do it. So each time I've been asked or commissioned to do a work on women and war, or on gender equity, or on female feticide, I've been very engaged with these subjects simply because I feel that, rather than reading a long paper on all this, a production stays and hits you hard. So I feel dance has that capacity to be able to do it.
Within performing arts, and especially dancing, if I ask you, where are the gaps? Do you think there are certain things that needs to be addressed?
I think dance today is at a stage where we have fantastic talent. It's absolutely superb, but we don't have the patronage. So I think we need to bring in corporate houses. We need to have much more support for the arts on a sustained basis. It's not just having big festivals, and you need a sustained a push to the youngsters. I told you the gestation period, getting over that is very tough. So identifying talent and supporting them is very important. You do that in sports, you do that in so many other areas, but in dance I think we are only looking at performance, and that is a very, very sad part. And the second thing, as I told you, this has to be part of the education process.
Ma'am, 20 years that I have been seeing your dance performances and all, and I've seen Sir support. Like, he's been the one, this is the thing, that is the thing. So how do you see it? You just initially mentioned that Sir really supported you throughout.
Yes. I think we've been co-travelers more than, being a husband and wife. I think we've been friends, and we've traveled this whole journey and enjoyed it. And he is as much part of Natya Vriksha, and the children dote on him. So I think it's a journey which we've done together. And I don't think gender mattered or anything, relationships mattered. It's just the passion for dance, music, and the aesthetics that I think drew us together and kept this journey going.
How do you manage the fitness thing? Like, what is the secret behind your fitness?
I think daily routine. You have to, every few years, review your schedule of physical activity that you do, because it's not just dance. I do yoga as well. And also I think continuously watching what's happening to the body. The body gives signals, and one has to be very, very conscious of it.
Yes, ma'am. And what would be your message to women out there?
I think it's a great time to be a woman. because I think we've come out of the shackles of many of the things that held us back, and today I think sky's the limit. Of course, there is the divide of Bharat and India. When I go to the remote areas, I still feel women are burdened by some of the traditional, stereotypical ways of looking at their role. But because of the social media and because of media being so aggressive, everybody has a phone and access to a lot of things which was not the case earlier. So I think they all have role models for themselves and what they want to become. So that's a great change, I think. So everybody feels very empowered with this little device in the hand. So I think we must use it in a positive way and show the world.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your time. It was pleasure talking to you. Lovely having you.
Thank you.